are speculation for the most part.
I'd say yes. Yes, you could say it's speculation, but it's because you know the community aspect behind it. You know the development team, right? You know the past projects that they've rolled out. You know the community that they have backing them. You're almost buying into their community, right? You're leveraging their network, their clout inside of the NFT space, right? So it's investing in their projects.
That's interesting.
It's almost like investing in a startup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Startup business that you know who the leadership is. One of your buddies who's a elite entrepreneur just bought, Harry's Cookhouse,
Yeah, right.
But you know their leadership and their capacity to grow, so you invest in it, right? It's interesting. So, everything to an extent is speculation, right? But knowing really where it started, right? Knowing the leadership, the origins of it, I think is really important. But yeah, that's kind of just the overview of the greater thing, the greater NFT space that we're starting to branch into, right? Empower the members with. Let's go ahead and hop over to the whiteboard real quick before we end this thing out. So, looking at the world of DeFi, you got cryptocurrencies, right? NFTs that are built on cryptocurrency blockchain, but kind of have their own unique, minting, if you will. So as far as crypto, let's list some qualities that crypto has to offer. Some utilities, some real use value. What would you say number one being?
Limited supply.
So you got a limited supply.
Decentralized.
It's decentralized, so there's no
Decentralized.
no centralized bank, right?
No.
So those of you that, are well versed in the centralized bank, the emergence of that, from my understanding, it all started back at Jekyll Island, which we'll deep dive into that on a whole another episode. But really it is just a power play of some of the global elites that came together and crafted a way on how can we control, manage the wealth of a country or a world, right, inside of some type of controlled exchange.
Yeah. And in crypto, there's still whales. It is decentralized in term, but there's still a lot of manipulation. The big players do have a lot of control.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as free of a market as people think, but still more so than institutional banks.
I like that. I like that you touched on that, right? And I think that's why it comes back to the community-driven aspects. Like, yes, these whales have a crap ton of control, especially after these tokens have taken off, right? And they're, Shiba's on the radar now, and then just a whale comes in and buys 10 million worth, right? So the community part, hey, how can the apes, which, by the way, the apes came out, for those of you that are in the stock market and were aware of when GameStop and AMC got shorted, what happened was essentially these hedge funds, large institutional banks or hedge funds, right? Yeah. Shorted these stocks, shorted AMC and GameStop, right? The quote unquote apes, who are basically just these underground people, small retail space, you and I type of people that communicated over Reddit and somehow had insider knowledge that these funds were going to short these stocks. So what did they do? When the fund shorted it, they scooped up all of these shares, and basically the funds got shorted out. So they're going to go down to they're going to have to declare bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
But that's where the apes, quote unquote apes, emerged. I'm guessing you probably have some insight behind that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a war between financial institutions and a group of other financial institutions and retail investors. So you had a bunch of financial institutions who were shorting AMC and GameStop because the fundamentals of those businesses were not good.
And they band together, right? So the institutions kind of all at the same time, hey, on this day at this time, we're all going to short this stock to basically take the legs out. And
well, what happened was that they had already, all of these these financial institutions had moved against these businesses because fundamentally they said, or they had kind of researched and found that they just were not worth the price that they were trading for. When that short interest rose to a certain level, which is over 100%, basically what that meant was as the price of those assets start going up, the liability against the people who are holding the shorts also goes up, and they are forced then to sell because the liability gets too great. So as buying pressure increases, the pressures on those shorts also increases. So there's kind of a price war there. So what ends up happening is, what happened was that short interest was so high on GameStop and AMC, people like predicting that it was going to go down. As institutional investors and retail investors moved against them, it creates what's called a short squeeze. You're basically squeezing the people shorting it. And as the price goes up, they're losing, every dollar that goes up, they're losing millions.
So the goal is to chase out the smaller retail investors out of this space, the ones that want to try to play in your space, right? And you're the whales, right? So they basically going against what these people did so you can create a suction and pull out opportunities.
Really what it was a war from the retail investors to move against the financial institutions. They saw that the financial institutions were over leveraged in this play to short these businesses, and realized if we just act against them, we can apply all this pressure against the financial institutions. Once that started happening, other financial institutions saw the exact same opportunity and moved with them. So there was a war between mostly against financial institutions, against other financial institutions who were getting too greedy with this leverage play, and started, now them with the apes from Reddit, the Wall Street Bets apes, they all started moving against those financial institutions and created what was a short squeeze, and that's why the price rose so much.
That's incredible.
So as that price started going up, the institutions that were shorting had to start selling, and if they didn't, as their margin was getting called, they were going bankrupt.
Yeah.
And it was just a war. It was absolutely.
Really is a war,
Yeah.
which those of you that have seen what's going on in this crazy world, I mean, we won't go into a rabbit hole here, but as you can see, it really is almost like global elites, government, call it what you will, and middle America, right? Small business kind of colliding.
Yeah.
It almost is like
Retail
a battle.
investors.
It's a war, right? But same thing here. So really the emergence of the quote unquote apes is these smaller retail investors that are starting to band together inside of this DeFi space.
Yep.
Hence the Bored Ape Yacht Club. That was inspired by something that happened there, right? So really cool, backstory. Again, we've gone down some rabbit holes. A lot of this is going to be hard to pick up, but as you start to learn, immerse yourself, a lot of things are changing and shifting. So the better knowledge and insight that you can gather, the more equipped you're going to be to make some plays and catch some of these projects before they fully emerge into the market, right? So back to some more utilities, limited supply, decentralization, which really is a bigger opportunity than a lot of us even realize, right?
Store of wealth is a big
Store of wealth.
aspect of it, yeah.
So let's look at cryptocurrency versus the US dollar. So from a historical perspective, all currencies eventually go to zero.
Yes, they're always approaching zero from inflation and the fact that they're not unlimited supply. So with the supply always going up and inflation always going up, they're always approaching zero. That's why crypto is, especially Bitcoin, is so valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So it really is a store of wealth. And look at all the money that's been printed last year alone. I've heard some numbers around the range of 40% of all US dollars in circulation were printed 2020, right? You got like PPP loans, EIDL, you got the COVID relief bills, you got
money.
stimulus checks.
Yep.
It's fake money that's just being printed, right? Because the institutions who can print their own money, right?
Yeah, to fund other asset classes, and that's another benefit of crypto and Bitcoin is it's a store of wealth that does not move along with other assets like the stock market, like real estate. It offers another vehicle of diversification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's big,
It's
right?
important. Yeah, it's very important. As an investor, all those things are so important to have that kind of diversification to build your wealth, to build your money, and to protect yourself. So it's really important.
Yeah. I love it, man. Stuff like that gets me like hyped up.
Yeah,
you know, 'cause
absolutely.
I'm all about like the underdogs, the small guys.
Yeah.
Right. There should be equal opportunities in every single space, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's coming from a place of entitlement because I grew up in America, the only free country left in the world, really, right? Where you do have opportunities at your fingertips, right? Like you grow up, doesn't matter what neighborhood you grow up in, the status of your family, anything else, especially in the 21st century. Like we have more opportunities at our fingertips. There's more millionaires being made every single year, every single month over the past 5 years than probably any time in history, right?
If you can apply yourself and you have access to the internet, you can accomplish almost anything right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge. And people need to realize that, right? Like
Yeah.
we live in this slavery mentality, right? It's almost like we're chained to the system. We're chained to the ideological views or understandings or belief that our parents instilled, right? Because growing up in the industrial age where we're, big steel factories and working in coal mines, right? It's a different game, right?
A lot of scarcity.
A lot of scarcity
Yeah.
mindsets.
And their mindsets is very scarce. Yeah, there was a lot of things that were happening that were very devastating to a lot of people and their parents, their families, and they just wanted security. So they said, you know what I mean, go get your degree, save your money. And it's just, if you just did both of those things right now, you would have nothing. You'd be buried in debt, and as you can see, with all the printing of the money, your money would be worth shit. So now it's educate yourself in skill sets that are actually going to produce for you, and you need to invest.
Yeah, have to.
You
have to.
Yeah, there's no way around it.
Dude, I was waiting tables with people that graduated with a bachelor degree, right? Working at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And I think what our generation is learning, I mean, so traditional education has a place, right? We need doctors.
Yes, of course.
We need attorneys, right? There's definitely a space for it. But majority of graduate degrees, right? Really what it is, they're teaching you to be a good technician.
Yes.
We need technicians, right? The architect needs the bricklayer. But what you're paying a crap ton of money to learn how to be a good technician, to be a cog, to fit into the system of the same people that taught you through the traditional education system. They're the same ones that own the companies that they're filtering you into, right?
So teaching you how to work for someone else.
Yeah. So it's almost like, I don't want to say they lied to you, right? But the way that we've been taught and programmed coming up, it's changing, right? Yeah. It's changing. So you got to stay ahead of the curve. You got to realize what's happening around you and get with it. Is there any other like super big utilities, values that you see with crypto?
Well, I mean, just how they facilitate business and transactions, secure ways to transfer money, things like that.
Would you say transparency?
Yeah,
because you can
say
see
security and maybe anonymity. Transparency, yes, in the transactions, but anonymity is big.
It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. I love that. So NFTs, I would assume we have a lot of the same qualities and utilities behind it. I think one of the biggest things that stands out with NFTs for me is community, right? Now, of course, a lot of the cryptos are community driven as well, right? Like you look on Facebook groups or Twitter for any of these coins, especially the small ones that are floating around, you got rock solid communities behind it,
but from
right?
what I can see, not like NFTs.
Yeah, it's a unique community experience within itself, right? Where you really can band together with your people, right? One, it gives people a place of belonging. It's like your tribe, right? We're all looking for some type of place to belong.
Yes.
Feel like we're included. NFTs gives you that, right?
Yep.
It's community. It's people you can lean on, you can trust. You're investing money together. You're going into battle together, right? And you're not being controlled by this system, dude. This industrial system that's trying to keep you captivated.
What I can see at NFTs is exclusivity.
Yeah, because you own a unique NFT. It's the only mint, right? There's no print or replica of that project. You're the only owner in this,
which belongs to a exclusive club or community.
I love it.
Yeah.
What other cases? I mean, it's definitely a store of wealth, It's definitely decentralized. So all this would fall into NFT column, right? And I guess we could say they both probably just go hand in hand, right? And it's really just a cycle. Crypto, you get some big projects that take off. I mean, we've seen a $3,000 investment turn into $120. Like, yeah. I caught Shiba early.
Right.
I might have put $3,000 into it. I seen that thing go up, right?
Yeah.
You hit the One Comma Club with a single crypto, it'll change your life, right? But with it, you see these projects take off, and some of the investors, they'll scalp off, they'll take some profits, move it into the NFT space, right? So they start pulling on one another. They're community driven, right? So hey buddies, here's a good project, right? You guys catch a big wave, and guess what? You and your community, you and your buddies, boom, let's storm this project, or let's build our own, and it's just like, it's a cycle that if us, the small people, if we can position ourselves in the right place, if we can move in unity, we can do incredible things, dude. We can change the world.
That's true. So and a lot of that is, from what I see, is all going to be based around education. You need to know how these markets are moving, how the trends are moving, and just how this is going to develop and where it's going to be in the future.
Yeah, I think so. And it's one of those things, like, I'm no expert, right? I've been exploring, and the whole purpose with this community is, hey, let's step in this together, right? We've done a lot of research. We've dove in deep, but let's identify some of these projects, right? Let's band together. Let's build up the knowledge base. Let's build up the community. Let's rally the troops around that.
Yep.
And hey, maybe the time comes in the near future where we can actually start building our own projects, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the cool thing with just really coming together. So I think that really touches on a lot of the different aspects with it. This is very, very new, very amateur as far as our community. We're not financial advisors, right? We're not telling you what picks or what things to invest in. We're sharing our knowledge base. We're sharing experience in our plays as we go, in hopes to empower more of you people to step in here and start growing up so we can all elevate. So getting in the early stages, the plan really is to open this up for people that want to get in. We can do a membership thing for $49 a month, right? It's less than a cup of coffee a day to be part of a club, a tribe, a community that can grow together, that can start investing in the knowledge base and really start to try to change our physical world around us. And maybe we'll just build some lands in the metaverse as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what I can see from all of this is that it's an emerging market. All the best performing assets always make their biggest gains, as you can see in crypto, as they're emerging. So even though we may be new to this space, if you are focused, if you educate yourself and you bring like-minded people together and you get ahead, this is where you're going to make those significant returns, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. It all starts with the people you surround yourself with, right? Like, proximity is power. So start looking for people that you want to get involved with, rub shoulders with, learn from, collaborate with, right? That's where it all happens. And this is it.
Yeah.
I love it, man. If you had one piece of advice, I always like to end with this because I think it's so valuable for newer people, right? Wanting to step in or kind of like on the fence. If you had one piece of advice for an early investor, they've either never invested before and they're starting to explore this space. They might have heard crypto buzzword somewhere and like wanted to look into it. If you had one piece of advice for a newer investor, what would that be?
One would just be to educate yourself. And if I had to say one way to go about doing that, is find somebody who is successful in the space you're interested in. Crypto, NFTs, all these digital assets, even stock market or traditional assets, there's someone you know who has made a significant amount of money, or at least the kind of money or has a lifestyle that you want out of these assets. Make a connection with those people and try to find your way into building a relationship with them and figure out how you can turn yourself into them.
Yeah.
That will be the fastest way to get done what you want to do with the least amount of risk, and they can show you the path.
So find people to emulate, right? Look for your mentors.
Yes.
Look for your teachers, right? You might find those teachers inside of a book,
Yeah.
right? You might find them inside of your social media connections or network, but find those people that have been there, right? That have, I don't want to say they have the roadmap, right? Because everyone's kind of piecing it together and figuring out as they go. But they've gone through enough experience, they've taken the losses, they've experienced the wins, right? And they have the guidance to help kind of lead you down that path to get started.
Experience and insight. From what I learned from my path in poker was I was always very good at poker, always very talented. But when I was first starting, I was struggling. I could see I was the most knowledgeable. I had a skill set that I felt like was better than everybody, but I was still struggling. The moment I got mentors and coaches, I went from just being a struggling low-stakes player to, in 6 months, one of like a world-class high-stakes heads-up player. And it's just they showed me a system, they showed me a roadmap, they showed me what I had to do. And once you have those things, you can go from being completely stuck to realizing your potential very, very quickly.
That's incredible, man. And I think at the end of the day, that's what this journey's all about, right? How can we experience more life, right? How can we work towards developing our greatest potential, right? And surround ourselves with winners.
Yeah. And that's the idea. We want to realize our potential and give ourselves as much agency as possible. Agency is freedom. I just want to be able to do whatever it is I want to do in my life and develop myself into the person I always want to be.
That's incredible, man. You can just mic drop right there, bro, because I think that kind of sums it up. This really was a deep dive. If you guys made it all the way through, we hope you got some value out of it, right? It's really just sharing our experiences as we go. And the goal with this network is just to bring you guys alongside of us so we can have, high-level masterminds in Orlando, right? We'll rent some high-level Airbnbs. We'll come together. We'll train together. We'll eat together, break bread together, and let's start investing.
Sounds awesome, man.
Love it, man. Appreciate you coming on today,
it was
dude.
very good, man.
Sharing it.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you guys on the other side.